What a week! There has absolutely never been anything like it. We told you it was going to be unbelievable. And there's only just about an hour left before the last 5 minutes. Okay, if we could get kind of settled down here. We've got a few things I'd like to cover with you here before we all break up and go back to our individual towns and cities and country that so many of us have come around the world to gather for this incredible thing called Herbalife. I think one of the real treats for me this weekend have been not only the camaraderie that everybody's been able to build over this last few days, but I think that all of you, a lot of you, especially in the summer and so on, got to see me and Jim Rowan and so on, and we talked about how incredible it was going to be taking this thing around the world. And of course, for me, it's a lot easier for me to see what's happening with Herbalife, because not only are we in the stages of planning it long before you ever see what's told to you in the different meetings and event by event, but of course I'm seeing a lot of you country by country as I travel around the world, almost 200 days last year, to make certain that all of this could come together here this last weekend. But I would imagine for you as an individual, as you've heard about the 17 countries and you've heard about how incredible it is, you probably have to agree with me that this weekend has probably maybe given you the slightest little vision and maybe the glimmer of hope that we truly are going to take Herbalife country by country and language by language, and we truly are going to take this thing completely around the world. These guys are ready to rumble. Also, I'd like to give a very special thanks. About, well, ever since the beginning of Herbalife, we've always tried to build leadership and have had people who have been coming up and telling their stories and, of course, helping to lead the way and do their meetings and so on. And this last year, it was incredible, the leadership that sprung out of doing all the supervisor training success workshops that happened all this last year. And there's no question in my mind that the ones that are in the future will absolutely be a knockout. But for those of you who may have been around last year and have been able to see the leadership that's growing out of it, you'd probably agree with me that what's happened with the trainers that came up here over the last days have been outrageous. And could everybody help recognize them for all their hard work that they did here? As we started out this weekend, it's been an incredible weekend. You know, we started out the weekend with some training, and we found out right away that it was just absolutely 100% out of control. Certainly as I made it up the aisle there for the very first night at the extravaganza, I could feel it being out of control as everybody tugged on my shirt and wrapped my tie around my neck and threw their babies around me and everything else. Probably the big question over the weekend here was, can you give us any final comments, Mark, on what do I really do to make it? What is the final inspiration that maybe you can, you know, give all my group just before they leave? What could you do to make them just light up as they leave the auditorium and so on? And I think I'll tell you what I've told all the distributors since the very first day that we got the thing started. And if you'll notice all the speakers that came up here, they said it. They all had maybe their own way of saying it. But I'll tell you what I've always told everybody, and if you'll notice, everybody's been doing it. They all use the products, wear the button, and talk to people. I was with one of my sixth graders, and some people that went to school with me. Little sixth graders, where are you? Hey? And Phil Blurton, I remember at the last year's extravaganza, he comes up to me in the back room and he says, "Mark, you're not even gonna believe it. You're not gonna believe it." He says, "I found the secret to Herbalife." And I said, "Well, what is it, Phil?" He says, "You're not even gonna believe it. I finally learned it from John Tartle." And I said, "Well, exactly what was it that John Tartle said to you?" He said, "He told me all I had to do was use the products, wear the button, and talk to people." And I said, "Phil, I don't know if you know this, but I've been telling you that now for over 12 months. He said, "Yeah, but when John Tartle said it, I believed it." Hopefully here over this weekend, we've been able to show you a number of different people that were up here on the stage that maybe you can identify with. If we had the time and the ability to go through all the stories that are in this room, it would shock everybody in this room. To be able to see the different personalities, the different languages, the different individuals from the different circumstances they've been able to walk themselves through and be able to be proud Herbalife distributors, it would absolutely 100% knock your socks off. And I get a chance to hear all the stories. But hopefully through the weekend, you've been able to identify with one or more of the people that were up there, and you'll say to yourself as you leave this weekend, "Hey, if those guys can make it, maybe there's a chance for me." And take it from a person that only went to 9th grade in school. And take it from a person that's been using the products maybe a little bit longer than everybody in the room, and has been wearing their button longer than anybody else in the room, and I've been talking to people more than anybody else in the room. Trust me, from a guy who knows from where I came from and how I grew up and the family life I had, trust me, I can tell you with absolute sincerity, anything is possible if you just keep using, wear, and talking, and do it over and over and over and over and over again. The wildest dreams you've ever thought of can come true in Herbalife. And just a few ending comments here and winding up just before we get to the last 5 minutes. Certainly using the products is something that's important. Wearing the button is certainly obviously important. Talking to people is certainly important. But if I could give you any other hints, all the guys were saying, geez, you know, give them a little something else. I could only say a couple of things. Number one, my advice to you is as you leave these doors and as you go back and talk to people on the street on your way to the airport and on your way to your airplanes and on the way back to your countries, do yourself a favor. Number one, treat everybody you meet equal, because you just never know who's going to be the person that you meet that could end up being the next person on stage here in less than 10 months from now getting their president's team pin. You just don't have any idea. If you look around the room here, there's all different colors of skin, all different personalities, all different languages, all different backgrounds and so on. If there's anybody, okay, that knows that anybody can make it, it's me. And hopefully over this weekend we've been able to show you that they're all different personalities and different walks of life. Don't miss out. When you talk to someone, make sure that you give them your absolute all. Don't mess up with your presentations. Don't judge them by the way that they look, or necessarily by the way their hairdo is, or the way their jacket looks, or the way their t-shirt looks, or the way they're dressed. Hey, if I had made that fatal mistake, I would have passed right by Doug Stuntz. Doug Stuntz, when he came to his very first meeting, was wearing a tank top. He was wearing his best sandals to the meeting. He had his groovy looking little beads on, and he had this old gray primer-stained van that we made him park out in the back. And we let him sit there in the meeting room, and he started watching what was going on, and he said, hey, maybe there's a place for me. You just never know. Treat everybody that you know nice. There's going to be people in your organization that do $50 and $100, and you couldn't make the fatal mistake of trying to teach them like they're a nobody, or try to make them feel like they don't exist and so on. Don't make that fatal mistake. They might be doing $100 a month now and 10 years from now, because you let them feel good about the organization and who they are, could be standing up here in the year 2005 extravaganza and getting their president's team pin. You just never know. Treat everybody nice. Treat everybody that you know with respect. Hey, who would have known a few years ago that somebody that could hardly speak English, like Leon Weisbein, would have been up here on the stage talking about picking oranges and falling on his head? Who would have known a few years ago that Leon Weisbein was going to make in excess of $1 million last year? Who would have known that Michel Fauché, did you guys see that shot of him? He and his wife sitting inside of that little tiny, I don't even know what you'd call it, a little locker and so on, and that was their actual living room? Could you imagine what your attitude might have been if you had walked past that locker area with your lose weight now, ask me how button, or you had gotten your brand new earn $420 ask me how button on, and they had crawled out of that locker space and say, hey, I'd like to make some extra money? The question is, would you have treated them equal, like the people that weren't living in that situation? Would you have treated them nice, like you do people that are dressed in suits? Would you treat them with respect, like someone else in your organization that you're trying to pitch that might be a doctor or a lawyer that you think is going to be Mr. or Mrs. Hot Rod in your organization? One thing I can tell you for sure, when you start in Herbalife, you're at zero. And regardless of who it is, if they're cleaning toilets, treat them nice. If they're a doctor or a lawyer, treat them nice, because you just never know. Because in Herbalife, you start out at zero, and those who talk the most get the most. So treat everybody nice and equal with respect. Don't miss out. That's not easy sometimes, is it? Because a lot of times we prejudge just on the way someone's hair is and the way that they may or may not look, and their teeth and the way that they're dressed and so on. Don't make that mistake. Here's the next one. Learn loyalty. And the first place I should say that you should be loyal to is the company. Hey, let me tell you something. You may not be able to judge us all the time and stuff like that just on what I'm saying, but one thing you can trust about me and the company is for the last 15 years, I've been saying one thing, that we were going to produce extremely good products, and we were going to have the most exciting opportunity that ever existed, and we were going to always pay our people every single month. And we've been doing that now for 15 straight years, every single month. And the reason I'm telling you that is from time to time, you may have someone that tries to break your thought pattern on your loyalty and your commitment and your conviction of what you think about what you thought the company is. But let me tell you something. It started out with one theme, and it's had that theme for 15 years, and it's going to keep on for the next 15 years, okay? And so what I'm saying is, don't miss the boat just because someone gets you off track a little bit, because the loyalty of me and what we've been trying to do for the last 15 years has always been the same. Stay loyal to all the Herbalife rules. They're not easy sometimes, but you got to do it. You got to do it for you. You got to do it for your kids, and you got to do it for the company. Because if you don't stay within some of the Herbalife rules over the years to come, we won't be able to continue to provide these products to every single person in the world. Some of you sometimes think, well, geez, I'll break this little rule, and I'll do this, and I'll ship some products over to, some different countries where it doesn't make any difference. Hey, it does make some difference. Because if Herbalife's not around, none of us are around. So we got to make certain that each and every day we protect the rules and regulations of all of our distributorships. Because the company is the goose that laid the golden egg. And trust me, I have never seen a goose put out so many golden eggs in my entire life as we've been putting out. There's two things you're going to have to do to get rich. One is to fight for where you get. And the second thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to fight to keep what you got. On your way, there'll be a number of fights. Here's number 3. If you hear any rumors about the company, and if you hear any rumors about me, and trust me, you're going to hear them as you get back into your countries and back into your own little organizations and so on. You don't think as we go out here and help 5, 6, 10, 20, 30 million people lose weight, that their blood pressure comes down, and their nitroglycerin doesn't have to be taken anymore, and they've lost so much weight that they don't have to put insulin into their arms every single day because they've lost that weight? You don't think there's going to be a few companies that are upset about the amount of less drugs people are having to take in the world because a company called Herbalife has stood up on its feet and helped the world lose weight? Who cares? We got a couple of people that don't like us out there. You think as we're spreading the nutritional habits of the world around the world, some of the fast food companies going to be in love with a thing called Herbalife? Hey, who cares? Let me tell you something. They made fun of me when I got the company started, and as we get to $1.5 billion, there'll be a few more, and when we get to $3 billion, there'll be more than that, and when we get to $5 billion, there's going to be more than that. And I'll tell you what I'm going to keep doing. I'm going to keep taking twice as many tablets, and I'm going to put on twice as many buttons, and I'm going to talk to 3 times as many people, and we're going to conquer the world with this company. Here's the next one. Have some faith that it can happen to you. Hey, who are you out there to think that it can't happen to you? As you've seen some people up here like Leon Weisbein, hey, listen, if he can make it, you can make it. Jerry Svetanovich up here, a grocery checker, hey, listen, if she can make it, you can make it. You may not be able to work as hard because you don't want to. You may not put your button on as often. You may not take as many tablets as she does. You may not talk as many people as she does. But I can tell you this, you've got to have the faith that it could happen to you. See, one incredible thing here in Herbalife, we don't make extra percentages up in the marketing plan just for women. We don't make a better plan up for men. We don't give just the great products to people just in a certain area. The products are the same. The opportunity in Herbalife, regardless of your skin, regardless of your background, regardless of your area, regardless of your sex, is exactly the same for each and every one of us. So have some faith as you leave this room here in the months to come, as you see us again, that if the people up on this stage can do it, that you can do it as long as you try every single day. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in your customers. Have the faith to stick with some of your customers. You're going to have customers that say, oh my goodness, I'm having a hard time losing the weight. Hey, listen, you're going to have more faith in your customers sometimes than they even have in themselves. And they're going to need that guidance, and they're going to need that encouragement. Have faith in your distributors. You're going to need more faith in your distributors than they've gotten themselves, okay? And when you have that kind of faith, there's no telling what could happen. Have the faith in your organization that it's going to work. Hey, listen, some of you have got people in your organization right now that are zeros that could end up being president's team members. How do I know? I got people that have dropped out on me over the last 11 years, and they're president's team members in the front row here today. You've got to have faith that it will continue to work, and you've got to keep that faith even when it's not working. Hey, listen, gang, it wasn't working for me in the beginning. There was a lot of people that laughed at me that this thing wasn't going to get to go. And let me tell you something, they're sorry that they didn't have that faith 10, 12, 15 years ago. Have the faith that it's going to work out for you. Here's another one. Have a great attitude. Some distributors say, well, geez, you know, I'd have an incredible attitude. You give me one of those president's team buttons, I'll have an incredible attitude. Get to your attitude over here. Listen, if you gave me a $700,000 check like Alan Lorenz, I'd have a wonderful attitude. But unfortunately, that's not the way it works. Here's how it works. To be successful, you have an attitude first, then the money comes. You have faith first, and then the money comes. You have incredible loyalty to the company, then it works. That's how it works. You continue to have a great attitude. There's no better form of maturity that I know of, or to show people what you're made of when times are tough, when your family's making fun of you, when some of your distributors are making fun of you. Hey, listen, that's when your true character shows how good, how loyal, how faithful you are, how great your attitude is. That's when it shows like a shining star when things aren't working that great for you. That's maturity as far as I'm concerned. Here's the next one, be consistent. And be consistent about even being consistent. I've never met anybody in my entire life, any distributor that you've ever met in your entire life, that didn't have one thing in common. And that was being consistent over and over and over and over again. Hey, listen, you're not that great at it now. Don't worry about it. Just do the best you possibly can. Tomorrow morning when you get up out of bed, do a little bit better than that. The next day after that, do a little bit better than that. Don't get so worried about the person that's next to you or the person that you've seen on stage here. I wonder if I could ever be quite that good. Don't worry about it. If you want to compete with someone, compete with yourself. Be the best you can possibly be every day. I've had distributors that said, listen, or you may even feel as we're wrapping up here today, you say, my goodness, this Herbalife thing is really something. These people are making so much income, it's unbelievable. I hope I get lucky like them. One thing that Lorraine Richardson taught me in a training class I thought was exciting. She said, one thing I learned about luck early on in the company, the more people I talk to, the luckier I get. The more people I sign up, the luckier I get. And I'm here to tell you that the more you use the products, the luckier you're going to be. And the more you wear your buttons or t-shirts or whatever it is, the luckier you're going to be. The more you talk to people, the luckier you're going to be. The more faith you got, the luckier you're going to be. The better attitude you keep, the luckier you're going to be. The more loyalty you consume up here, the better off you're going to be. The more consistent you are, the luckier you're going to be. And that's all I know about luck. Nobody was going to give me luck when I was growing up. My parents didn't have any money. My family didn't have any money. And one thing I learned on as a young child, if anything was going to happen in Mark Hughes's life, and any things were going to get better for me, there was going to have to be one thing I was going to have to get mustered up. To be the best I could possibly be every single day. And I hope you guys have been enjoying what we've been spreading with you this weekend, because I've done my absolute best in the last 4 days. Thank you for being here. Everybody have a great time at the party tonight. May God bless all of you, and welcome to Herbalife.